on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent, and here are the top stories. Deadly IED blast rocks Guzau Funtua Highway. Ondo resident block Akure Expressway protests abduction of church worshippers by terrorists. Kaduna youth protest continuous detention of El-Rufai and Sowore Umahi clash at Abuja police headquarters. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. The news at 6 begins with an improvised explosive device, IED, suspected to have been planted by bandits detonating early today along the Guzau Funtua Highway. This was disclosed by security analyst Bakatsine on X, formerly called Twitter. The explosion occurred between Kuseri and Magazu villages in Sowore local government area when a fully loaded commercial trailer transporting cement reportedly drove over the device, causing panic. Residents and community leaders have called on security agencies to urgently intensify patrols, surveillance and intelligence gathering along the busy highway to prevent further attacks. Residents also offered prayers for the victims and appealed for lasting peace and stability in the region. Meanwhile, in Ondo State, residents today barricaded the busy Akure-Owo Expressway in protest against the abduction of 5 worshippers at a church in the Owo local government area. The demonstrators blocked the highway for hours, leaving motorists stranded and demanding urgent intervention by security agencies over the rising spate of kidnappings in the area. The police confirmed that the victims were abducted by gunmen who attacked a branch of the Celestial Church of Christ in Uso in the early hours of today. Sources said the armed men stormed the church at about 1 a.m. while a service was ongoing, seized 5 worshippers and took them to an unknown destination. Spokesperson for the Ondo State Police Command, DSP Abayomi Jimo, said operatives moved swiftly after receiving the report of the incident. He disclosed that security agencies had recorded some progress in the operation. He added that efforts are ongoing to secure the safe rescue of the remaining victims and arrest all perpetrators involved in the attack. The development comes nearly 4 years after the 2022 attack on St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, which left 41 people dead and 140 others injured. Operatives of the Department of State Services, DSS, reportedly arrested a 6th suspect linked to that attack on Sunday and said 5 individuals were being prosecuted for allegedly carrying out acts of terrorism. Youth groups in Kaduna State today took to the streets to protest the continued detention of former Governor Nasser El-Rufai, demanding his immediate release. The protesters, drawn from different communities, converged on strategic locations within Kaduna metropolis and parts of southern Kaduna, chanting solidarity songs and carrying placards with inscriptions such as "Free El-Rufai now" and "Justice for our leader." Other inscriptions read, "Kaduna demands governance, not revenge." The protesters included women, youths and adults. The demonstrations followed denial of bail to the former governor after his arrest by the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC. Speaking during the protest, a leader of the Arewa Youth Movement, Ibrahim Modibo Sanusi, described El-Rufai's continuous detention as unjust and politically motivated. He warned that failure by the authorities to heed their demands could lead to further mass action. Now, human rights activist and former presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore today confronted Nigeria's Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, inside the Federal Capital Territory FCT command of the Nigerian Police Force Abuja over the unlawful arrest and detention of a woman allegedly owed 250 million naira by the minister. Sowore disclosed this in a video posted on his social media handles, accusing the minister of using the police to settle personal scores in what he termed an abuse of power and intimidation of a private citizen. According to Sowore, the confrontation occurred inside the conference room at the FCT Police Command, where he alleged that police operatives had created an enabling environment for the minister to harass the detained woman. He identified the woman as Tracy Nitha Nicholas Ohiri, describing her as a married woman who was allegedly arrested in Lagos on claims of cyberbullying and subsequently transported to Abuja. Sowore maintained that Ohiri's alleged offense stemmed from her accusation that Umahi owed her over 250 million naira for over 12 years, a matter he insisted was purely civil in nature. He further alleged that after detaining Ohiri, police authorities facilitated a meeting that allowed Umahi to confront her within the police facility. According to him, despite Umahi's departure from the premises, police authorities refused to grant the woman bail or release her from custody. The activist insisted that the minister, as a public office holder, had no justification for allegedly deploying law enforcement agencies to pursue what he described as a private grievance. Let's take a listen to the video from the altercation that occurred between Omoyele Sowore and the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, earlier today.
Madam. But Minister, this Sowore, you are not supposed to be using police to settle personal scores. You are not supposed to do that. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the Minister of the Federal Government. You are not supposed to use police to settle personal scores. I'm talking to you now.
You can't listen,
No, please. Don't push me.
I'll talk to you.
Don't talk to me anyhow. Don't talk to me anyhow. Don't talk to me anyhow. Don't talk to me anyhow.
Inspector General of Police. The ceremony was conducted today at the State House in Abuja shortly after the acting IGP arrived for his official decoration ceremony. His decoration comes a day after President Tinubu appointed him as the nation's top cop. His appointment followed the resignation of former IGP Kayode Egbetokun, whose departure from office was confirmed by the presidency on Tuesday. In a statement issued the same day, the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, said President Tinubu accepted Egbetokun's resignation after he submitted a letter citing pressing family reasons. Until his appointment, Disu served as Assistant Inspector General in charge of the Force Criminal Investigation Department, FCID Annex, Alagbon, Lagos. He was promoted to the rank of Assistant Inspector General of Police last year. Before then, he served as Commissioner of Police in Rivers State and was later deployed by Egbetokun to Abuja as Commissioner of Police of the Federal Capital Territory. You are listening to the news, 6 p.m. news on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I'm now being joined by Dele Fanimo, veteran reporter, political, social and national affairs analyst, to give us his own perspectives on the issues in the news. Good evening. How are you doing today, sir? Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Good evening and thanks for having me.
All right, then. It's a lot of issues in the news today, but let's just take a few, starting with what we can call the altercation between Minister of Works Dave Umahi and Omoyele Sowore. One would ask, why was Sowore there? Was it that the woman who was arrested as unjustly or unlawfully, as Sowore put it, asked him to be there, and then he confronted the minister? He accused the minister of using the police to oppress a citizen because the citizen said he is owing her 250 million naira. But here's the question: is Sowore doing too much? I don't know if you recall, there was a day he was on his way here and he was stopped by the police, and the next thing, he whips out his phone, he starts making videos. You understand? Would we say that he's fighting for justice here, or he's just being a troublemaker?
Well, for me, Sowore has not been able to win himself off his student activism days, decades after he left Unilag. And the earlier he understands some of these things and the dynamics of activism, the better for him. Because there's a Yoruba saying that says, Afi fila perin, ojo kan lo ti niyi. What that means is that a man who uses a cap to kill an elephant only gets applause for the first time. Subsequent killing with his cap meanings will be read to you that he would not likely get the same applause as the first time he did it. Now it's becoming too frequent for Sowore to dabble in what actually is not his business. And this is another example. Cyberbully is a criminal offense. It is when you now establish the fact of the case before the police that the police will now realize that it's not cyberbully, but a case of cyberbully was reported, and it is normal for the police to invite whoever is alleged to have committed that offense.
Crime. But the issue here is they're alleging that she was arrested in Lagos and transferred to Abuja, not invited.
Well, the point is, depending on the nature of the offense, if it's a federal offense, it's the first CID that will handle the case. And if it's a state offense, it is the Lagos state government that will handle the case. I am not a lawyer in this case, so I don't know which category this offense fall. But all I know is that I am not in support of people using state power to oppress a fellow Nigerian. I am not going to support that. And if this man is found to have abused his office to unleash this kind of attack on that woman unnecessarily, then he should answer for that. But for me, I think I am not too sure that Sowore had all the facts of the case before he jumped into it. And it is not good for him. And out there, some people are beginning to read ulterior motives to some of his actions and inactions. And the earlier he retraces his steps and work within the ambit of the law, the better.
Talking about,
because I was around the day that incident at
with the police at Airport Road.
At Airport Road happened. Ordinarily, nobody should be seen as being above the law. If there is every reason for a policeman to suspect you and he wants to stop you and ask you some questions, even to the point of searching your vehicle, the ideal thing is to surrender for such search. Not that you think that you are above the law or because you are an activist. For instance, some people had lost their life through this process. And I think he should value his life. He should also understand the psychology of the average policeman on the streets. Because he has one or two things to deliver to the country, and he shouldn't short-circuit it through this attitude.
You believe Sowore is acting with impunity so that he will be seen as this person who's fighting for justice?
I see him as somebody who is doing this for the optics.
All right. I want to talk about, you talked about ulterior motive that he has. For the new IGP who's already, of course, you know that with the outgoing IGP, he had issues with him, saying he called him an illegal IGP. He still has, those cases are still pending right now.
Maybe he's going to call this one illegal IG when he's supposed to retire in April.
That's the thing. He
has only
48 days to retirement. And some people say, oh, with this attitude Sowore has, he may have an issue with this current IGP. But one other issue that Sowore also had, or that he brought up with the former IGP, was that The former IGP's son received 100 million naira from the coffers of Anambra State Security Trust Fund account in 4 tranches of 25 million naira each. Now, I want us to quickly take a listen of the Police Force Public Relations Officer Benjamin Hundeyi talking about how that money was returned. Let's quickly take a listen for a few minutes and then the conversation continues.
Well, the court has asked him to stop, to refrain from that, and if he doesn't do that, then he's going against the court order, because we cannot allow this kind of thing to continue. It doesn't really make any sense for you to just wake up and commence a campaign of calumny against him. Oh, you could remember when he said, oh, 100 million naira was paid into the account of the son of the IGP. And you know, I called the son of the IGP immediately to find out what happened, and he explained that yes, I saw 100 million in my account, and I told my account officer to reverse the money immediately, which he did. He printed out his statement of account, he showed me, he sent it to me, I saw it, which he did. Only for Sowore reporters to say, oh yes, the money was returned, then cash was withdrawn again and paid into the IGP son's account again. And I saw the statement of account, there was nothing like that. In fact, exposing the details of the account and everything, the young man was forced to close down that account, so that people will not use it to commit any other form of...
Now, here is the issue. There are some Nigerians who believe that Sowore just has issues with the Nigerian police, and that he wants to be at the forefront of every fight, so that Nigerians can see him as a savior of the country.
What savior can he be? You see, we're talking about an institution, and the fact that you have an axe to grind with an individual in the institution, you want to bring down the institution. I don't think it is right at all. Now, how long will it continue with this? So, Egotokun is out today. Disu is in. Disu will be clocking 60 by April. So, is it mandatory that Disu has to leave the office? No. There is a constitutional provision which allows the president to use his prerogative to appoint an Inspector General of Police who may even be due the next day for retirement, but with the appointment by the president can serve 4 years of the president's tenure based on the discretion of the president. So is he going to fight another war again with Disu? And if another person is appointed tomorrow, most of these people, by the time they get to AIG position, except those who are lucky to have their promotion fast-tracked along the line in the process of career growth, ordinarily, by the time you get to AIG, you are already close to either 35 years in service or 60 years of age. And they are yet to change that to 65 or 40 years. So, but that position of IG had been sorted. There could be elongation of tenure. So I don't see any reason why it should become a very big problem.
All right, let's go back to the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi. If you recall, there was a video making the rounds on social media recently where he was talking about how he dealt with one particular woman over an issue of land or something like that. You know, just like some Nigerians have complained about the FCT Minister Wike, and the president said he's doing good, he's doing wonderful, he's one of my best ministers, I see no problem, and I'm not going to sack him, contrary to what Nigerians are asking for. Do you believe it's the same thing with the Minister of Works here? Because there are complaints. If indeed you're owing somebody 250 million naira over 12 years, it's the best course of action to have this person arrested. Because he said he was saying the other day during, I think it was a rally in Ebonyi or so, that his family is blessed. They have more money now than before. They can afford anything. So why not pay the woman her money if indeed she's been owed, rather than taking it this way? Because it now begets the question, are you owing somebody and also oppressing them at the same time?
You say the first thing, owing somebody, except if it borders on pretext, that's when you have section 419 of the criminal code, which is obtaining money under false pretext. But if it's a transaction and somebody is defaulting in the arrangement, in the deal, it's not a criminal offense, it's a civil matter. The woman would have gone to court using the lawyer to sue Umahi. Umahi ceased to enjoy immunity the day he left the government house in Ebonyi State. As a minister, he is not immune to being sued. So the woman would have sued him and demand for his on 250 million naira. But another thing again is, I will not support Umahi if it is proven that, that's why the fact that he is owing that woman, he still went ahead to bully the woman using state apparatus like the police to harass the woman. No, that would be very wrong. And the police has to show enough evidence to prove that this woman was actually bullying the minister using the cyberspace for her to be liable. And if that is the case, why detain the woman for too long, charge her to court, and then let her go to court, argue her case? If she wins, fine. If she loses, fine. So the area where I quarrel with is that offense is a bailable offense. The woman should have been released with bail conditions, even at the police station.
Sowore claims that the minister said to her while he was leaving that, "I promise you, you've not seen anything. I told the police officials not to release her on bail."
That's wrong. That's absolutely wrong.
All right then.
It's a bailable offense. This is not a case of murder. This is not a case of manslaughter. This is not a case of armed robbery. This is not a case of rape. Those are not bailable offenses. And in some instances, if prima facie case has not been established for some of these lesser crime, it's a bailable offense.
All right then. Because of our time, let's quickly talk about insecurity. An improvised explosive device was buried on the road, and a truck, a commercial trailer carrying cement, drove over it. And of course, there was a blast. This made people gather, and the residents of that's on the Guzau-Funtua Highway, the residents of that area, they are now in fear for their lives. This is happening in Sowore local government area, a place that has also seen an upsurge of insecurity in recent times. While we are talking about this, in Sowore, bandits terrorists went to a church and abducted 5 people from the church. The same Sowore town in Ondo State that saw a massacre in 2022. And even till now, yes, a prosecution is ongoing. We just heard that a 6th suspect was arrested. But still, we've not seen a sentencing. And they are brazen enough to go and carry out another one.
You see, these terrorists, though some for convenience sake will call them bandits, but I call them terrorists. Even the kidnappers, I call them terrorists, because they instill fear, morbid fear in people. But I see a situation where these guys have suddenly become so brazen and so nomadic in their modus operandi. They go to places, they attack, they move on to the next place. I mean, if not for their brazen attitude, I don't see any reason why Sowore should even be another subject of target. And of course, Iluabu, the town of the former SGF, Chief Olufalaye, have been attacked more than 3 times. And Sowore, this is the second time they are attacking Sowore. They are now domiciled in Ondo State, and it's unfortunate. That's my state, and I feel bad. I feel sad that this kind of thing is allowed to fester in that state. And of course, once they get to Ondo State, Osun is nearby, Oyo is nearby, and the northern fringe of Oyo has been attacked several times. So where is that place that is safe? As at now, as of today, it is only Lagos that we have not recorded any incidents. And the earlier we do the needful, the better, so that it doesn't. Because you can imagine a place like Lagos that is just should find a way. There are vehicles now that can detect landmines without explosion. Those vehicles should ply those suspected areas where there could be landmines, and then demobilize them, so for people to move about without let or hindrance.
All right, then, because of our time, we have to go. Mr. Dele Fanimo, thank you so much for joining me on the news at 6 this evening. Thank you for your opinion. Thank you for your perspective and your analysis.
My pleasure. Thank
you very much. You have been listening to the news at 6 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that there was a deadly IED blast that rocks the Gusau-Funtua Highway in Zamfara State. Ondo residents block Akure-Owo Expressway, protest abduction of church worshippers by terrorists. Kaduna youth protest continuous detention of El Rufai, and Sowore Umahi clash at Abuja police headquarters. That is a wrap on the news at 6 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent. Good evening to you, and thank you for listening. Do stay tuned. The Evening Rush comes up at 7 p.m.